Hey buddies, welcome to an Overwatch special news edition. Maybe I should start doing some segments where I talk about the recent developments in Overwatch as they happen. Since I love Overwatch and I'm addicted to it, I might as well. And it's like one of the few games that I've been following news for a very long time. I don't think I've ever given a shit about gaming news in like 2 years. And now I actually actively go to Google every time I wake up and I'm like, Overwatch news, what's happening in Overwatch? Torbjorn is getting a nerf, also known as Torbjorn, is getting what sounds like a massive nerf. On console only. This is based on, I guess, Blizzard listens when the community is in upheaval, which it seems to be about Torbjorn. I personally haven't encountered these fabled 6-person Torbjorn defense matches in which Torbjorn, maybe I've gotten lucky. I didn't think there was a big issue with him, but apparently there are people who will run 6 Torbjorns and people say that it's impossible to deal with. I don't feel like that's true myself. Again, I haven't gone into that situation. I feel as though 6 Torbjorns, you get on voice chat, and this is the problem, is that not everybody coordinates on pubs. If you're playing on pubs, this could be an issue. But if you got 6 Torbjorns, you go like 6 Widowmakers or 6 Pharahs or a combination of those two, maybe toss a healer in there, but Widowmakers just destroy Torbjorns. And I know that if they get an arrangement where like they, put themselves in certain corners and make it so that they cover their angles, it could be a little bit more difficult. But I still don't feel as though 6 of any character can't be countered with 6 of another character. And I know that there's a downside to that. Not everybody wants to be forced to go a certain character because the opposing team decided to be a bunch of nut jobs. But I don't feel like this nerf was necessary. I saw that some Redditors had put together some info saying what's the website that actually tracks the way that Torbjorn, his stats, people submit their stats saying what their win percentage is with each character, and that Torbjorn PC versus console was about 10% better on console. I say to that, how many characters were there on on PC that are 10% better on PC than they are on console? There's trade-offs. Yes, there's going to be characters that are slightly stronger on one platform versus another. I don't know that it deserves what he got, which is a 30% nerf to the turret damage, which I feel like is going way over top. And the problem with that is, I think, is that it's done such a huge difference to his ability to take out what I think he's best used for on the console, which is taking out Tracer and other flankers. Now, Tracer has an additional 1 full second, which is huge, before she's killed by Torbjorn. If not more, especially if a Lucio is nearby, that turns a second into 2 seconds because of the space in between shots from the turret. Maybe it'll make Torbjorn hide less. You mean as a character, make Torbjorn play a little bit more aggressively, or but really, when it comes down to it, I'm a little bit dismayed by it because Torbjorn's been my go-to. I hope it, who knows, maybe it won't even affect it that much. I think that it will. I think that, I've always liked to go Torbjorn when there's a Tracer I can't deal with. And if there's a Tracer on the board, I often can't deal with her. Tracer is amazing. Maybe I'll just jump into a game here, quick play. Tracer is amazing, and on console, where characters have slightly slower turning abilities, I find that Tracer is incredibly hard to deal with when there's a really good one on the board. And so Torbjorn's my go-to to deal with characters, especially that outrank me in skill. Sometimes Pharah can deal with I'm good at Pharah, so sometimes I can deal with her like that. But on one hand, it is cool that Blizzard is so responsive to the community's issues with the game. And I also think that they're not so responsive that they are, I'm going to go Torbjorn just to tool around with him here, on attack. And I do think he's viable on attack, but on the other hand, I don't think that they're knee-jerk either. I think that they give enough time of cooling time before they decide whether, I'm going to turn off my voice chat as well because people are listening to, they're getting, they're just confused, what the fuck's this guy doing?
I need ammo.
I think that Blizzard is smart the way they deal with things, but I am surprised at a 30% nerf. I think that 10 to 20 at most would have been okay. But again, I don't know, I'm not the game developer. I'm sure they thought about this long and hard and did internal testing. People, you guys were saying that you're making jokes about him peeking out from behind his turret, and that's another thing that I don't understand, because I don't play Torbjorn like that. I don't stay behind my turret. I like to play Torbjorn aggressively. What I love so much about the turret is that you can leave it behind your team so that it deals with anybody like a Reaper or a Tracer, at the very least warns you that they're coming, while you can concentrate on what's important. And often I'll play Torbjorn, especially on attack. I like to play Torbjorn really aggressively like this. Like, my entire team right now isn't even pushing. I'm the only, okay, 2 defensive characters are pushing the payload, while I'm the only one who's actually moving. And it's moving a lot, because the other team is concerned with stationary defense with their bastions. And that's one of the things I like Torbjorn about. He covers your angles, especially in pubs where you can't really tell your team, like, hey guys, a Reaper's been bothering us. Does somebody want to be, like, in charge of dealing with that asshole as he keeps on coming up behind us? Because nobody will. Everybody's here just to play the character that they want to play, and strategy often doesn't enter into it. That's also, by the way, how I often drop them down. I drop them down without even upgrading until, like, later on when the coast is clear. I'm the only one who's pushed this turret in any way on this team right now. Pushed this payload. And sometimes that's all that you need to do. Just keep on pushing, man. Uh-oh, it's high noon. And now that the coast is clear slightly, I'll upgrade it. I'm just glad the turret doesn't hurt you like it does in TF2. Like, it hurts the NG. What the fuck, why not? Let's go aggressive now that I hit the checkpoint. See if we can clear them out. Torbjorn can definitely be a beast, that's for sure. I just haven't ever thought he was OP. So that's what's coming, and it's only coming to console, and it's going to be rolling out presumably with other nerfs that have already, or changes that have already come to PC. We've yet to hear whether, like, they made an insinuation, like, they made it sound as though they might not bring the McCree nerf to console, and I don't know exactly what I think about that. I think on one hand it is nice that as McCree you won't be able to take out, I think on console, even on console, it'd be nice if McCree couldn't take out a Roadhog with 2 Fan the Hammer, which I do think is wrong. On the other hand, I think that the nerf is so substantial, it might be a little bit overboard on PC, especially where your aiming typically can't be as precise. And for me, I like to use McCree to take out smaller characters. I don't think I'm going to be nearly as good at McCree now. Maybe I'll just have to, like, change the way I play him, change my skill set a little bit. I have 4 gold medals right now. And that's just because I'm pushing. I'm pushing a lot. Keep pushing, team. Who cares if you die? Respawns only happen within 10 seconds. This ain't like TF2 where a respawn can take up to a minute. I also have to comment on how interesting it is how Blizzard releases this information. To keep up on the news, well, one, you can just go to GameSpot or IGN and just check out updates on the Overwatch tag, or go to Reddit or whatever. But the thing is, they release their Reddit, their updates in comment form on Reddit. I should have dropped a turret, by the way, on my way out of there. That was dumb. In comments on their forums, on Reddit, like just on Twitter, randomly, never as a big statement. Like, so the key to Torbjorn is, like, make sure that you're remembering to drop a turret. Because this, again, isn't like TF2 where you have to wait a long time, collect a whole bunch of scrap. before you get to get another turret. Just drop them down like they're fucking worthless. They are. So that's my opinions on the Torbjorn nerf. Do you guys have any thoughts on it? I do think that it's a little bit aggressive, but I'll reserve my judgment for when, you know. I hope that it's not, I hope that Blizzard will continue to be reactive. Like, if it ends up being too much, I hope that they change it back again. Why do I keep forgetting about that turret? That's stupid of me. I'm being a bit too aggressive, and I also didn't drop a turret down again, talking while playing. I hope that if it does turn out to be too much, that they'll adjust accordingly, and I think they will. I don't think they're irresponsible. They've done an incredibly good job at the balancing of the characters so far. But I have to comment at least on how impressed I am with the design of Torbjorn to begin with. I found NG, I liked NG as a character in TF2. I just hated playing as him because it was so punishing to play as NG sometimes. You'd put in all this time investment, very boring time investment, into building up a turret, collecting scrap, and stuff like that, and sometimes it was rewarded with a bunch of characters, rightfully so, concentrating on you and just taking you out. And there's nothing wrong with dying in a game like this, but I'd like it to be a little bit more than just smacking a turret for 15 minutes and then a guy coming and finding me and killing me outright. Like, that's no fun. And they've made it with Torbjorn so that they reward you for being aggressive, for getting out into the action. It makes sense to get into the action, collecting scrap for your team, which I haven't been distributing very liberally. And by the way, putting it in a big group like that isn't a good idea, because when somebody takes just like 1 HP damage, they pick up a second piece of scrap even though they didn't need to. Not their fault, but that's what happens often. DVA doing her job, taking out the turret. Me doing my job, giving her some extra armor. But anyways, even though, like, outside of a percentage damage nerf to Torbjorn, other possibilities were that they could have reduced the fire rate on the turret. I'm not a math whiz, so I don't know what the difference of a fire rate reduction versus damage rate percentage reduction does. Like, what's the real? What's the change? What's the difference? Like, if it does the same DPS, what's the difference between doing a fire rate nerf? Oh, I suppose the way it deals damage to armor. The fact that damage has been reduced but fire rate is still up means that it's even less effective against armor than it was before. Whereas a fire rate decrease with a damage remaining the same would have been much more effective over armor over time. So I guess that's another huge thing. Against armor, Torbjorn is maybe possibly like 40% less effective, maybe even 50% less effective against armor now. So DVA, I guess what that means is DVA is going to be even more effective against Torbjorn than she was before. So there's that. So I haven't been able to demonstrate my favorite part about Torbjorn so far because they don't have a Tracer or a Reaper. In fact, in a regular match based on their team makeup, I probably would have changed away from Torbjorn by now. But he's doing a good job. But really, I think that it would be more effective to be... Oh shit. That was a oh shit. Wait. I just want this to be in a good position when I pop my ultimate, which I'm going to soon. Nah, fuck it. Torbjorn's is one of my favorite ultimates in the game, mainly because of the buff on him. I'm gonna get this medic if I can. There we go. I have my wrench bound to L3, and that causes me sometimes to, during very anxious moments, to get my wrench out when I didn't mean to. Damn it, I was being shot from behind too, I think. So, do you guys have any, a range nerf would have been better than damage? I actually agree on that. From the very beginning, I thought that the turrets in this, especially coming from TF2, had way more range than I was expecting. We in TF2, as a veteran TF2 player, to some extent, with 1,300 hours logged, I always felt as though that's what made turrets fair, was that they couldn't be placed in such an open place that they're just shooting everybody and anybody. That you had to like be conservative with where you put your turrets, and that if you wanted long-range turret damage, you had to get out what we call the Wrangler, which was this little device that turned your turret into a manual turret that pointed wherever you wanted it to shoot, which was very effective for very long-range turret sniping. I feel like my team could have been better. Although I could have been a better class. I think that I was doing an okay job, but could have been more effective as another class because of the fact that they didn't have any flankers. That's the true power of Torbjorn on attack. But I think that, yeah, a range nerf could have been a little bit better. I think that's in the 6v6 matches with Torbjorn that against Torbjorns on pubs, probably one of the big issues was the fact that the turrets have too much range. I was really taken aback when I first started playing Overwatch how much range Torbjorn had. Even as a sniper, sometimes it can be difficult to take out a turret because of how far it can see. And with its perfect, precise aiming. So maybe, would a fire rate reduce its reaction time to a new person appearing on the screen? Is that also affected by fire rate? Because that could also be beneficial, considering that I think that what I was about to just say is that sniping a turret can be difficult because of its range and how fast it locks on. Even when you're just popping your head out just to loose an arrow or a shot, it tends to like grab you right away, and even as sniper, you can sometimes be dead before you're able to actually do any real damage to the turret. So, if fire rate does affect the speed in which it draws a bead, so to speak, I think fire rate would have been a much more effective nerf and a fairer nerf. Potentially on both platforms, but I don't know. I can't speak to PC. I'm all about the casual couch playing Overwatching. But anyways, thanks for listening to my rant. I'm going to continue after this segment to play with some turbos. I'm going to get a group started maybe here in the early hours of 3 a.m. with my turbo club and add them to the team and get that sweet, sweet 20% experience boost. I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll keep up with these initial news segments as nerfs and stuff are talked about in the Overwatch community. See you next time.